This is Joe at Sierra Specialty Auto. Welcome back to the shop. In this video I'm going to complete the installation of a front way cover on my 2 UVR tree milling machine. If you haven't watched the first part already, you might want to go take a look at that before you watch this one. Now let's just get right to work. I almost forgot the relief for the housing around the power feed. We can see this is about half an inch above where the mount for the way cover is going to be. We've only got a 1/4 inch or so of clearance right here, and we need more like a half or even 5/8 to allow it to drop down around the curvature of the collar here. So I've set up in the milling machine with a fly cutter. This diameter here is right about 3 1/4. I have the fly cutter set to an included diameter of about 3 3/8 approximately. So we'll reset the camera, see if I can get that fly cutter to do a decent job cutting a little arc out of the bottom edge. Here's my setup for the fly cut. I've got that clamped down onto parallels again. I have a stop set at the opposite end in case I want to fine-tune this. I'll go in a little ways and try it out and make sure it's fitting properly. I got the blocks and shims set up under this end again to try to stabilize it. Got the mill set fairly slowly, couple hundred RPM. See how that works. Maybe we'll crank it up. I've checked fairly carefully to make sure we have clearance on against the vise and against the stop over here. So let's give this a try. I'm going to start with about a 20/1000 depth of cut. Let's see how that works. I don't want to be very aggressive with this relatively flimsy setup. Let's try a little more. Let's try a 40. I want to go in a total of about 5/16, I think. I'm going to go to about 1/4 and then test the fit. That's doing a very nice job. Another 40. Of course, the cut will be doing more work as it engages farther into the cut. Trying 50 this time. I see flex in the strip. I better back off a little bit. Probably should go back to 30. I'm starting to take a pretty big bite out of that. Here's 30. That's not flexing nearly so much. try another 30. Left on the first run. Let's take 20 and 20. Very little flex. All right, let's take that out and go take a look at it. We're pretty close. I think we'd need another 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to go out to 375. Now we'll take, let's take 30 again. Let's see what this fit looks like. That looks perfect. I've got about a 1/16 of an inch clearance here, all the way around, and it's very uniform. Location of the relief this way was very good. I just laid that out by eyeball and got quite lucky there. This is perfect. Now I'm gonna move the camera around and we'll see exactly how long the spacers need to be in here, the brass tube. That should be a pretty good view. Let's run this cross slide out. I think we could come in a little bit closer. Let's see what these bellows look like when they're closed up. That's what has to fit in here. Actually, I think probably right about there at that end is perfect. The other end's a little bit farther out, but I only need one measurement. So let's register that. That fits in there nicely. Let's stay down and out of the way. Let's back this off and get a measurement from here to the dovetail. And that measurement will be 2 1/2. About as close as I can figure. So I'll go cut. Well, let's both go. Let's all go over to the lathe and part off a couple of pieces of brass tube. And this stuff is probably about 65 thousandths wall thickness, 1/2 inch ODs. So I'm going to have to drill it to 3/8 for clearance for these fasteners. That ought to be a pretty good view. We'll face this off, bore, chamfer, then pull it out, cut the length, and rinse and repeat, as Tom Lipton says. I have a mark on my drill bit for a hair over 2.5. We'll slow that down a little. Well, that takes care of that part of the job. Let's go back over to the milling machine, see if this will all go together the way I want it to. The plan here is to assemble the new bracket out here, and then we'll tuck the leading edge of the bellows behind the original way cover, the original way wiper, and secure it with the original way wiper screws, and then repeat the process with the other end of the cover over the new bracket. So let's see how this works. That bolted up nicely. Now let's see how this part of the plan works. I think I'm going to have to go ahead and take all 4 of these screws out. Kind of work blind back there. Maybe a little bit of a fire drill, but shouldn't be too bad. Outboard end will work a little better. I can see what I'm doing. All right, here's an end. Get that centered up approximately. Maybe what I need to do, go ahead and lay this in here. Let this fold over. And punch holes with my awl. Might work better if I try finding them the other way. This is pretty stiff stuff, this material. Yeah, that's pretty tough. I'm surprised. Quite stout, quite resistant to the punch. There's 2. Three. And 4. All right. Let's get the wiper back up here. Clean it off. And see if I can work upside down and backwards. I can't even work right side up and frontwards right now. Get a screw through here. In fact, maybe I'll try to get all 4 of them through there. Yeah, the material is holding onto the screws very nicely. I'm impressed at how stout this material is. I think it's going to last a while. All right, now let's see if we can get the wiper started over those screws. That might make it a little easier. Yep, they're going to hang on too. Okay, this ought to work fairly well once I get all this lined up. And turn this over. And we should be able to just run these in and have that end done. That one started. That one started. That one started. And that one. And the wiper's down, making good contact. Put just a little tension on these. They don't want to be too tight. Don't want to squeeze the rubber out, just want to hold it in place. Okay. Now, repeat the process here. I should be able to hook that over. See if we can get one of these started on each end. These are pretty short. These are about 3/16 long. Didn't want them any longer than they needed to be. There's one at that end. There's one at the other end. Now, I'm not going to bore you guys with all 11 or 12 of these holes. I'll get them done, and when I get the last one in, then we'll turn the camera back on. There she is, all done. Screws all tight. Let's back you up just a little bit here and run this through its paces. All right, it bunches up there. That's not a big problem. If I really cared, I could hold that down. Let's make sure that'll work. I see what the deal is. This first one, this first fold tries to keep it up. If I hold it down, it will stay in there, and it still has room. But it's very rare, right, that we're working with our table this far out. We're usually, right there we're coming up against, right about there we're coming up against where the spindle is in line with the back jaw of the Kurt vise. So this is as far this way as the mill would normally be. Let's run all the way the other way. And that works fine. I don't see any issues at all with that. So now I have a way cover that works fine for my purposes. Now you guys with the power crossfeed, if you have a 2UVR-C with the factory power crossfeed, I don't know if your dials are farther out or not. If you're relying on the indication of the dial rather than DRO, this would be an issue if you have an aftermarket power feed installed, as I do here. This should work. And the same thing over here on the Z-axis. I think I know that the factory Z-axis power drive is a bolt-on, an addition, and so it may stick out. Let's get you down. It may stick out the way this one does. I can still see my dial here. I have to back out. Just if I lean forward over the mill, I can't see it, but I just have to step back just a hair and look down at about this angle, and I could see it fine. So I'm kind of thinking maybe if you have a factory power feed, that it may stick out the way this one does. Certainly if you've got an aftermarket power feed installed as I do, this will work. But if you don't, and you're relying on the dial, this way cover is not going to be convenient for you. For me, I have the DRO. I do use the dial here on the Z fairly frequently, but I can see it. So for me, this works fine. This would not be a universal solution. A lot of people would not be able to accommodate this way cover in this manner on their mill, but it's fine for me. gotta say, I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. I'm tired of putting rags on the way, trying to keep it covered while I'm working. It seems like every time you touch something on the mill, especially the lock for the X-axis travel, the rag gets knocked off. So now we have this permanent cover made of pretty durable material. Works well. I'm happy. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it very much. I hope you'll leave a comment. I hope you'll subscribe. Again, thanks.